Hey, good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. We're coming to you with a special edition mid-afternoon primary election day special. And so, of course, today is not just St. Patrick's Day, but it's primary election day in the great state of Illinois. And so we're surrounded by a great group of legislators and leaders here as we have Chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Chris Miller. We have Leader David Freese, Leader Adam Niemerg, and the Director of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Colin Mosley. Welcome, gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. It's a brisk day out there. The temps are in, the mid-20s. And so with that, let's get into our slide set as we go around the table here as all of us kind of have a shot to weigh in on what's going on this primary election day. If we could advance to the next slide. There we go. So with that, let's go to Leader Niemerg, and then let's go to Leader Freese, and then Chairman Miller to wrap up, and then Colin to close us out on this slide with any closing thoughts that we may have missed on this once every other year election primary day. Gentlemen, Adam?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. Folks, everybody listening, watching here this afternoon, I want to thank you for your continued support of the Freedom Caucus, of myself as well. Get out there and cast your ballot for Adam Niemerg, as well as everybody else here as well, and Brad Hellbrook if you're in the Effingham area, up in the Charleston area, Chris Miller, then obviously down in Redbud, David Freese, and every other Freedom Caucus member that we have that's fighting for conservatism in Springfield. Also, if you happen to be in the western part of the state listening, please get out there and vote today for Josh Higgins. If you're down in the southern part of the state, Carbondale area, please get out and vote for Harold Visser. It's very important that we have more conservatives in Springfield that are there to fight for you, that are there to get the job done. And as always, thank you and God bless.
Thanks. Just to follow up on that, obviously, guys, I can't tell you how many times I've heard constituents or people in the district, even statewide, they complain about the politics of the state of Illinois. Well, this is step one on how you change that. Get out and vote for conservative members up and down the ballot. This is what we got to do. And then after the primary, we'll come back around, we'll circle the wagons, and we'll support whoever gets through the primary.
Exactly. Chairman Miller?
Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in this afternoon, and we just mainly want to remind everybody to go vote. I know that it's very easy to slide into this attitude of apathy and indifference, thinking that your vote doesn't matter. But let me assure you, your vote does matter. And in order to turn Illinois red, we have to have every red-blooded American patriot show up to the polls, cast their ballot, and let the chips fall where they may. But if there's one thing that we know is if you don't vote, the Democrats will continue to ruin our state. So get in your car and go vote, and vote Republican if you want change.
Yeah, exactly. Colin, polls are open until 7. Interesting day. These votes, the primary voter, Republican primary voter matters in the state of Illinois. And especially in our small rural county, some of these local elections may be decided by 1 or 2 votes. But anyhow, your thoughts, Colin, as you see the world in the primary day today.
Well, Brad, you're right. We've seen sheriff's races come down to 1 or 2 votes and have recounts. We've seen school board races and mayor races and county board races. It all matters. And to echo Chris and David and Adam, you want change in the Republican Party. You want change in who goes to battle with the Democrats for you in Springfield. That happens today, right? The primary election is our draft of our army for who gets to go and fight the Democrats. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want a milquetoast weakling with no principles, or do you want a real conservative? If you want a real conservative, you vote for Josh Higgins, you vote for Harold Visser, all the Freedom Caucus guys, because they're the ones that are going to go to battle for you and make a real difference against the Democrats in November.
Right. Exactly. Did we miss anything, gentlemen? Is there anything we need to talk about here to wrap this slide up before we move to the next one? See not. Let's go on to the next one. We're back to Springfield tomorrow. We've been out of Springfield for 2.5 weeks because it seems like a third of the Democrats in the House and a corresponding amount in the Senate are all running for higher offices, since there's an open seat for U.S. Senate, lots of congressional seats, lots of shaking and baking going on amongst the elected Democrats in the state of Illinois. And of course, Republicans have a lot of primaries too at the higher end, but it seems like there's going to be a lot of change potentially happen in the Illinois House and Illinois Senate, because of all of this. But that point of that is we've not been in Springfield for the last 2.5 weeks because of all these electeds are in a primary for a different office. And so we got 7 days left to get bills out of committee, out of House committee. I think the Senate actually extended their committee deadline another week because of all of this. So anyhow, not a lot of movement yet on bills, but will be interesting to see what happens as we go back at 2:00 Wednesday afternoon is our appointed start time all the way through Friday afternoon. Let's just go to the same round table again. Let's just go to Niemerg, Freeze, Miller, and close out with Colin. How's that sound, gentlemen?
Sounds great. Folks, what you're going to be looking at in the next couple of weeks is a lot of committee work. Look for witness slips to be filed a lot in the coming weeks. We're going to be seeing a lot of bad legislation. The Democrats are going to try to play catch up after the primary season is over. So they're going to be pushing a lot of bills through committee, trying to get a lot of bills out to the floor. So get ready for the witness slips. We'll keep you informed on what legislation is going to be coming in the next several weeks, but be ready to file those witness slips to know what's going on, to push your state reps in the right direction if we're a proponent or an opponent on a bill.
Right. Leader Freeze?
Yeah, unfortunately, part of that bad legislation is I guarantee that we're going to see more new taxes, and if it's not a new tax, it'll be a tax increase on something. The Democrats can't help themselves. They've never found the ability to say no to a tax. And then I had the privilege of attending a Right to Life event this afternoon, and we have up there, the Democrats are doubling and tripling down on bad ideas, and the theme at that rally was that the thought is that the governor is going to push through some constitutional amendment to make abortions here in the state of Illinois, make it a constitutional right, which is sad. It's the party of death. It just never stops. They can never kill enough babies.
Exactly. Chairman Miller.
Well, one thing about it is, for those of you listening out there, you need to make sure that you pay attention and you have to watch what these rascals do and not what they say, because typically will always say the right things, but a tree is known by its fruit and a politician is known by their votes and their policy. And they continue to, like Representative Leader Freeze said, they continue to double and triple down on bad ideas. And one thing that we know is they have a insatiable appetite for spending. And so we can expect more spending, more borrowing, more taxing, and more regulation. And so it's important to stay tuned and not to forget about the opportunity to exercise your voice while we still have one, and understand that we aren't dealing with the best and brightest. These are very low IQ people that are leading our state and making decisions. And so it's important as a citizen that you stay engaged and let your voices be heard.
Right, exactly. Director Colin, we had an energy pre-meeting just earlier today and in Energy Committee tomorrow afternoon. I know this is going to come as a complete shocker. There is a bill to fix SB 25. That's the CRGA, the energy omnibus bill that was passed during veto session. There is a trailer bill to fix all the problems with that bill. And guess what? It doesn't make it any better. It just makes it worse, in fact. So anyhow, just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, I think back to all of the green energy issues, FEJA and CEJA, they're not trailers anymore. It's more like train cars going down the tracks in tandem. We have the engine from FEJA from 8 years ago, and then we've just got 7 or 8 train cars plowing behind it. And they're all they call them fixes, but they're not fixes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem.
Right.
Let it lead us. I mean, all of these issues are bad public policy consequences. And I would encourage everyone to go to the Freedom Caucus Facebook page and Twitter and check out the solutions package that we released. It's a package of 10 bills that makes life better for Illinoisans immediately. And so I encourage you to check out our solutions, because a lot of those solutions are simply undoing public policy that's been passed the last 6 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to say, unfortunately, a fix to half of this crap would actually be a complete repeal of these bad bills.
Yeah, that's one thing that they don't want to talk about, is that the only way you really fix this stuff is to throw it watered up and throw it in the garbage. This whole idea of carbon neutral by 2030 means that we cease to exist. The earth will be brown and we will grow nothing. I mean, it's pretty much, to sum it up, it's industrial suicide to continue down more windmills and more solar panels to destroy it actually will destroy the earth, and the world will change as we know it, as we continue to see skyrocketing prices for energy.
Right. Well, and we've seen major hits to U.S. auto manufacturers and others across the world, multi-billion-dollar hits to their bottom line because they have finally abandoned or starting to abandon the EV craze because nobody wants to buy an F-150 that's unbelievably higher priced than their gas-powered or diesel-powered pickup. Nobody wants to buy that stuff. They don't want the hassle. They don't have the range. They just don't want to deal with it. So this stuff is going in the tank faster than they can keep writing new legislation to try to keep pumping oxygen into it.
Another sidebar too is that they were talking about how that we're going to see a big jump in urea, which is a nitrogen product that we use in making corn green and other things grow. And because apparently that comes through the straits over there in the Middle East. And one way that we could definitely cut down on the demand for urea is we could cut out the DEF regulations that are destroying our diesel engines. And we could free up all that urea to be used for growing crops.
And just for those that aren't familiar, DEF, that stands for diesel extortion fluid.
That's about right there, Leader Hallberg. That's the reason why we call you Leader Hallberg.
Well, thank you there, Chairman. Well, it's just bizarre, right? They package these up in these 2-gallon or 5-gallon plastic containers in a cardboard box, and they're trying to save the environment, right? But then we have all these plastic and cardboard containers to do something with. I don't know. But then I guess that gives them something they can tax, right? They can tax those containers. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
along with your paint can.
Can, right. So Director Collin, you've got our stuff up here, all the digital assets and all. Of course, how important is it for people to follow us on our respective social media sites? Will they find anything of value there?
Well, it's extremely important if you're looking for anything that is the conservative perspective on Springfield. That's where you can read about bills and the fights that we're engaging in. And hopefully, after the election tonight, read about some wins as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and of course, I just want to continue to urge people to sign on, to become followers or subscribers of our different channels, because we know how this thing goes, right? We've seen it multiple times. Late in the spring session, these bills will pop out as amendments to bills that have nothing to do with the underlying bill. And so the quickest way for us to get the word out is to go to social media, and hopefully we can email or send out via our Substacks, but just to alert people that they've got 2 hours to file witness slips before these bills go in to get heard in committee. This is really, really important. This is the best way I know to kind of try to communicate with everybody out there. All right. With that, does anybody have any closing comments, or are we just going to go right to close? Going once?
Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Vote conservative. Vote conservative.
Got a few hours left. Like, share, follow, subscribe. And guys, we really appreciate you joining in and being a part of this every week. And we'll talk real soon.